Hello guys and girls, thanks for joining me. Welcome back. We're up to about part 10 of the HGV training series now, and it's CPC time. I've got my CPC Module 2 in 3 days, and I've not done any revision for it up to now. I don't know why, I've just completely forgot about it. I've been so muddled up with my driving licence and my taco card and uploading videos to YouTube, recording videos and all that stuff. I've just completely forgot about it. So I've got a 2019 edition of a CD-ROM, CPC training. We're going to go through that together, as always. Hopefully it won't take too long. I'm not going to skip anything, not going to speed anything up or slow anything down. It's going to be as I do it. If I pass, good. If I fail, then at least I know what I need to concentrate on. Don't forget, if you find this content useful, or if it helps you in any way, or if you've got any questions regarding any of the training whatsoever, any HGV training, let me know. Leave me a comment in the comments box below. Like and subscribe if you like this kind of stuff. Let's jump straight into it. Good luck everyone. Do along with me. If the video is going too slow for you, just use the speed up icon on YouTube and speed it up by, is it 50% or 150% or something like that. I'll see you in there, guys.
Gary has his own business transporting cars between local garages and to and from their customers. He owns a 7.5-ton rigid truck fitted with a tow bar and flashing amber roof light. He often pulls a 2-axle 2.5-ton car trailer. When should Gary use the flashing amber beacons fitted to the roof of his vehicle? Select the best answer. All the time, whether the vehicle is moving or stationary. Only when the vehicle is stationary for loading or unloading purposes or moving slowly. Only when the vehicle is stationary. Only when he is loading or unloading. What type of driving license does Gary need for his vehicle? Select Category C1, Category C plus E, Category C1 plus E, Category C. Category C plus E. What is the maximum permitted length of this vehicle combination? 10 meters, 11 meters, 16.5 meters, 18.75 meters. To which driver's hours rules is this type of operation subject? A combination of both EU driver's hours and British domestic rules. EU driver's hours. British domestic rules. Neither EU driver's hours nor British domestic rules. A combination of both EU driver's hours and British domestic rules. What would be the maximum length of duty for Gary in any 24-hour period? 10 hours, 15 hours, 16 hours, 11 hours, 15 hours. What is the speed limit for this vehicle combination on a motorway? 50 miles per hour. 70 miles per hour, 60 miles per hour, 56 miles per hour. What should Gary do if his vehicle broke down on a smart motorway? Put his hazard warning lights on and wait in the lane he had broken down in. Try to stop in a refuge area and put his hazard lights on. Phone the police immediately. Try to stop on the hard shoulder and put his hazard lights on. Brian works for a large international chemical producer and drives an articulated truck all over Europe carrying various chemical products. His vehicle is fitted with a bunk, and he normally uses ferries from the south of England to reach the continent. The goods he carries are either palletized or in IBCs. What do the letters IBC stand for? Insulated bulk containers. International bulk carriers. Intermediate bulk containers. International big containers. International bulk carriers. International bulk carriers. Which of the following best meets the requirement for the carriage of fire extinguishers for vehicles carrying dangerous goods? 2 fire extinguishers, one in the cab and one in or on the load area. 2 fire extinguishers, one fitted inside the load compartment and one fitted to the exterior body of the vehicle. 1 fire extinguisher of at least 8 kilograms. 1 fire extinguisher positioned as near to the driver as possible. What is the minimum length of a daily rest period taken in the cab of a vehicle fitted with a bunk? 8 hours, 10 hours, 11 hours, 9 hours. Brian arrives at Portsmouth 2 hours before he is required to embark the ferry. He uses this period as the first part of his daily rest. The ferry crossing takes 8 hours. For how long does he need to continue his rest before setting off after landing in St. Malo? 2 hours. He can drive straight off the boat and continue his journey with no further rest required. 1 hour. 3 hours. Brian arrives at Portsmouth 1 hour before he is required to embark the ferry. He uses this period as the first part of his daily rest. The ferry crossing takes 7 hours. For how long does he need to continue his rest before setting off after landing in Caen? Brian has to undergo ADR training as well as his driver CPC training. If Brian takes a full week, 35 hours ADR training, how much of this can count towards his driver CPC qualification? 21 hours. None of it can count towards his driver CPC. 28 hours. The full 35 hours. What is the name of the organisation charged with accrediting centres for driver CPC training? DVLA, DFT, DVSA, JAUPT.
Franz drives a 40-ton articulated vehicle on a round trip from the Midlands to southern Spain. He regularly carries car body panels down to Spain and returns with domestic electrical goods. Franz drives almost entirely on motorways and A-class roads, and their equivalents in the UK, France and Spain. What is the speed limit for this type of vehicle on a motorway in the UK? 50 miles an hour, 60 miles an hour, 56 miles an hour, 70 miles an hour. Which of the following statements is correct in relation to the daily rest taken on board a ferry? A driver cannot take a daily rest or part thereof on board a train or ferry. A driver can interrupt any daily rest to board or disembark a ferry or train. A driver can interrupt a regular daily rest once to board or disembark a ferry or train. A driver can interrupt a regular daily rest twice to board or disembark a ferry or train. When interrupting a daily rest period to board a train or ferry, the maximum interruption must be no more than when interrupt 1 hour, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 15 minutes. When taking a daily rest on board a train or ferry, to which of the following facilities must the driver have access? A chair, a bunk or couchette, a bunk and eating facility, shower facilities. Today, France is double-manned with Brian on a trip from Cherbourg to Cadiz. What is the minimum daily break for each driver? 11 hours in a 30-hour period. 9 hours in a 30-hour period. 9 hours in a 24-hour period. 8 hours in a 24-hour period. Brian is an owner-driver who drives a 3-axle articulated tractor unit. He mainly pulls unaccompanied semi-trailers from Felixstowe docks, but occasionally is asked to pull skeletal trailers with 40-foot containers on board. The containers carry a wide range of goods and can vary from reasonably light loads to maximum weight loads. Brian has gradually improved his vehicle so that today he operates a 1-year-old tractor unit which is fitted with a bunk. Today, Brian is picking up an unaccompanied semi-trailer which has arrived at Felixstowe from Holland. He is delivering it to Birmingham. What set of rules is this load subject to? ADR, EGR, ATP, CMR. The journey to Birmingham is around 300 kilometres and will take Brian around 5 hours to drive. What is the minimum number of breaks Brian will need to take? 3, 1, none, 2.
Brian employs a casual driver to cover periods when he is not available to drive himself. In addition to the correct licence, what will that driver need to have to drive this truck? MPQC card, green card, DQC and digital tachograph driver card, MPQC card and analogue tachograph card.
When purchasing the vehicle, Brian specified that it must contain a bunk. Why was this? He wanted the extra room that the bunk space would provide. He sometimes takes his young son with him, and this is a useful space where he can play as Brian drives. It is legally required if he wants to take his regular daily rest in the vehicle. It makes the vehicle easier to sell after 5 years. Why did Brian specify a 3-axle unit when purchasing the vehicle? It would give him more traction when running laden. It would give him more traction when running unladen. It would allow him to operate at 44 tons gross train weight with the appropriate semi-trailer. It is cheaper to run than the 2-axle equivalent.
Before reversing under a semi-trailer to couple, Brian should adjust the height of the tractor unit to suit. Which of these would not be a consequence of the unit being set too low? It would miss the trailer pin and possibly damage the tractor unit. It would cause damage to the trailer headboard. It could cause a puncture on the fifth wheel. It could damage the air coupling valve on the trailer.
George drives a 3-axle rigid truck fitted with a tail lift. His regular run is between a local industrial estate and a small regional airport. His load is normally palletized and, to help maneuver the goods, he carries a pump truck, pallet truck, on the vehicle. George used to be in the RAF and still has a keen interest in aircraft. His vehicle is fitted with a speed limiter, digital tachograph and cruise control.
Which of the following items fitted to George's truck could help reduce its impact on the environment? Digital tachograph, cruise control, speed limiter, Moffat, tail lift.
How often should the tail lift on this vehicle be inspected by a competent person? Every month, every year, every 6 months, every day. There is a plate fitted near the tail lift controls giving maximum weights. How does George know which weight is applicable? The plate will show the maximum weight at the appropriate load center point. The highest weight will always apply. It will be found in the vehicle handbook. The lowest weight will always apply.
A pallet truck can be used to lift any Euro pallet. True or false?
False.
Looking at the picture, what would be your main concerns? The driver is distracted and not concentrating on the load, pallet, his work. Other vehicles maneuvering in the same area. The load is badly stacked and likely to be unstable. The ground surface may not allow the pump truck to roll easily.
George has been on duty for 12 hours and is then delayed for 3 hours at the airport because a plane has been diverted due to fog. For how long can he extend his maximum duty to get back to base with the load? Marcel drives a 6-axle, 44-ton articulated vehicle. He's aware that the driver is responsible for the condition of the vehicle at all times. Marcel is the senior driver at his company and has been asked to instruct some new drivers in carrying out effective vehicle first-use checks. Marcel explains that on a vehicle exceeding 3.5 tons, the tyres must have a tread depth of 1.6 millimeters across 3/4 of the width of the tyre, 1.6 millimeters across 3/4 of the width of the tyre and around the complete circumference of the tyre, 1 millimeter across 3/4 of the width of the tyre and around the complete circumference of the tyre, 1 millimeter across 3/4 of the width of the tyre. Marcel explains that where a DVSA examiner sees a defective tyre, he could issue a PG9. This has the effect of warning the driver and operator that they may be prosecuted, prohibiting the vehicle from being driven until the tyre is replaced and the vehicle is cleared by an authorised examiner, warning the driver that he may be prosecuted, prohibiting the vehicle from being driven until the tyre is replaced. There are 4 tyres on the axle Marcel is inspecting, and the axle is plated to 10,500 kilograms. Each tyre must therefore be rated to
To check their knowledge, Marcel asks his trainees which of the following, on its own, would not make a tyre illegal. The tyre is underinflated, a bulge in the sidewall, a cut of 20 millimeters or 5% of the width of the tyre, a cut of 25 millimeters or 10% of the width of the tyre.
Where a wheel and tyre have been removed to facilitate replacement, it is recommended that the wheel nuts be re-torqued after a certain interval. What is that interval? 15 minutes or 15 kilometers? 30 minutes or 50 kilometers? 60 minutes or 100 kilometers? 24 hours or 300 kilometers? What is the speed limit for this type of vehicle on a dual carriageway in Scotland where the national speed limit applies? 40 miles an hour, 50 miles an hour, 60 miles an hour, 56 miles an hour. Marcel explains to his new drivers that most vehicles are now fitted with a close proximity mirror pointing to the near side front wheel. What is the purpose of this mirror? To enable the driver to check for pedestrians, cyclists, etc., particularly when turning left. To check for drain covers and gutters on the near side. To help the driver keep close to the left in normal driving. To enable the driver to spot punctures in the wheel at the earliest opportunity. Gethin drives a variety of rigid and articulated vehicles for his employer based in the West Midlands. He's often engaged in work taking him to major distribution warehouses and satellite sites throughout the UK. All of the vehicles he drives are less than 5 years old. The company he works for does operate some refrigerated vehicles. Most of his driving is on motorways and dual carriageways, and he often drives for long periods of time on the speed limiter. When reversing into a loading bay, it's important to check the height of the bay in relation to the height of the rear of the vehicle or trailer. You should adjust after reversing into the bay so that you achieve the correct height. Rely upon the dock leveller to make any adjustment. Leave any adjustment to the loading staff as they are more experienced and know what is required. Adjust before reversing into the bay to prevent damage to the vehicle and bay bump stops.
In addition to his driving licence, what will Gethin need to drive all of the company vehicles? A banksman certificate, a 6-year tachograph calibration certificate, a digital tachograph driver card and a driver qualification card, an ATP certificate. Today, Gethin has delivered a load of frozen chickens to a warehouse in Dudley. He is then picking up a load of ambient goods to take to Wolverhampton. Which of the following should he do? Leave the fridge running, as it will also be needed for the ambient goods. Switch off the fridge before loading the ambient goods. Switch off the fridge as he approaches the delivery point to allow the temperature to start rising and save fuel. Switch off the fridge after unloading the chickens.
When filling up the diesel tank for the fridge, Gethin's employer uses red diesel rather than the white type used in the vehicle fuel tanks. Why is this? It is more fuel efficient in the smaller engine used for the fridge motor. It's cheaper to buy as it does not have the same high level of VAT. It can run at lower temperatures and therefore does not wax. It is more environmentally friendly than the normal white diesel. What is the maximum permitted weight of the largest two-axle rigid vehicle Gethin drives in the UK? 16,260 kilograms, 17,000 kilograms, 26,000 kilograms, 18,000 kilograms.
Gethin sometimes becomes sleepy driving along the motorway. How can he reduce this risk? Drink high-energy canned drinks regularly and often. Ensure the cab is always kept warm and draft-free. Ensure the cab is well ventilated by opening a window and take frequent breaks, every 2 hours. Drive a little faster to maintain focus.
Jerry drives a 3-axle Shunter vehicle for a company based just outside Felixstowe Dock. He regularly pulls unaccompanied semi-trailers from various terminals in the dock to the company yard just outside, a distance of about 2 miles. Although old, first registered in 1999, his vehicle is maintained and kept on an operator licence as it does carry goods on the public road, albeit only for a short distance. Does Jerry need to use a tachograph in this vehicle for these short journeys? No, provided he does not exceed 100 kilometres in any week. No, because he's travelling less than 5 miles each journey. Yes. No, because he's travelling less than 3 miles each journey. When pulling forward on the tug test, Jerry notices that the jaws have clearly not engaged. What should he do? Defect the semi-trailer and transship the load. Pull out from under the trailer, leave the cab and check the jaws for any problem. Reverse back faster to ensure the lock engages. Defect the tractor unit. After connecting the red air line, the driver notices a slight air leak from the coupling, but it stops soon afterwards. What should he do? Continue on because the air leak has stopped. Make a note in the defect book and do not drive the combination until it is checked by a competent person. Make a note in the defect book, but continue with the journey as the air leak has stopped. Continue the journey and report the defect on return to the depot. What should be the first thing that Jerry should do before uncoupling? Drop the legs on the semi-trailer. Apply the trailer brake. Remove the registration number plate from the semi-trailer. Unclip the dog chain and pull the trailer release handle. What would a driver secure with a dog clip? Electrical cables. The parking brake. Kingpin release handle. Any supplementary or auxiliary equipment on the catwalk. Because of the nature of the job, Jerry is in and out of his vehicle many times during the day. What is the safest method of entry/egress? Jump out facing towards the truck. Climb out using the 3 points of contact method and only using steps provided for the purpose. Climb out backwards using steps and vehicle tyre for best grip. Jump out facing away from the truck.
Wow. That failed miserably. I didn't have a clue. I did not have a clue. All them initials, AGR, ATP, EGR. Nope, never done any of them. Driving on a ferry, crossing on a ferry, driving around Europe. I've never learned anything about that. If it's really going to be like this, I'm going to fail. Where am I supposed to revise this kind of stuff? I've revised every single DVSA book that I've been given, and it's like the tyre thing, the 20%, 20mm cut or something. Never heard that. Tyre depth, 1mm across 3/4 of the width. That's all I've been told, and I actually got that question on my theory and I got it right, but this time it said something about the entire circumference, which that was the correct answer. I'm going to have to do a couple more of these, I think, because that was pathetic. If any of yous have any advice for me, please give it me. Sure. If there's anywhere where I can actually study this kind of stuff, like that internal bulk container thing, I've never in my life heard of an IBC, ever. I'm baffled. But this was a real mock test. I failed it. It's the first thing I've failed since I've started doing this. I'm going to upload it because no point in lying. This is the only thing I've failed up to now. So, looks like I'll have to do another, doesn't it? I'll see you in the next video. Take care.